Well. Seems like GW is having Middle-earth Thursdays at the moment because, of course, we had the 2 articles last week announcing the new stuff coming up for Rise of Aemon and also the announcement of the new edition. And now, a week later, we only get one Middle-earth article a month. Now we've gotten 3 in the last week, which is absolutely insane. And this article is all about the new edition, talking about little teasers and hints about the new edition. And it's already stirred up quite a stir on the internet. And I'm going to give my thoughts and feedback on it, guys. Because I think it's always nice to have different feedbacks and opinions, because everyone's different, obviously, which is good. So I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and feedback, my theories. Of course, this is all theories, and of course, until GW actually releases some stuff. But we also do have some confirmation in here as well. So I'm going to go through it, give you guys my opinions, and basically go through it. And I want to hear your opinions in the comments below, guys. Do let me know what you guys think. Let's be respectful to one another down the bottom, because obviously there's a lot of different sides to this topic. So let's be respectful and let's talk about it. And get your brushes out, guys, because I expect this to be a bit of a long one like last week. We're just going to go talk about it. I'm going to go through every single topic. So it's quite a big article. It's quite a lot of writing in it. So I'm going to go through each paragraph, read the paragraph, because I don't want to sidetrack myself like I did last week, where I just read one sentence and go talk about it for 20 minutes. So I'm going to read the entire paragraph, give you my thoughts and feedback on it, and then go to the next one, and then the next one, so on and so forth. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this kind of content, do let me know in the comment section below. And I think it's going to be a good time for the channel and for SBG in general, either for good or for bad. We're going to be getting new stuff either way, which is always good for the game. So if you guys want to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. But now, let's get straight into it. So here we go, guys. The road goes ever on and on, the next edition of the Middle-earth strategy battle game. So here we go, guys. This is the article that went up last night. I actually couldn't get this up last night. I was asleep by the time this article came out. I did not expect another article the week after those 2 massive articles. So apologies for this not getting out. I know I said the next article that was going to go out, I was going to try and do it as soon as it came out. But like I said, I don't think any of us were really expecting this article, like an article today. So maybe because they've announced a new edition, maybe every Thursday we might get an article. That could be cool. And I've got a few opinions later on, which I'll share with you guys. But let's get straight into it. So it says, welcome back to The Road Goes Ever On and On, our regular blog covering all things Middle-earth. And it says regular there. It doesn't say monthly anymore. So that's something to take away. So it seems like we might be getting a weekly blog, especially, obviously there's a new edition, so that, they've got a lot of things to say about it. So it says, if you've been keeping an eye on Warhammer community recently, you know that a new edition of Middle-earth strategy battle game is on the horizon. So we tracked down the Middle-earth team to see what they could share about the biggest update the game has seen in a long time. So here we go, guys, the next edition. As you may have heard, the new edition will focus on the upcoming The Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim movie. This is an incredibly exciting prospect. It's the first new movie we've been able to work on since the Hobbit motion picture trilogy. Whilst we can't go into too many details just yet, more in the coming weeks, you'll find a taster of what you can expect from the next edition below. The entire core rules have been rewritten in an effort to streamline and modernize both the way the rules are presented and the game itself. Clearer language, consistent terminology, and making the rules easy to follow have been the priorities, and a selection of new rules have been added to inject even more narrative flavor into the game. And as myself as a narrative player, guys, that is huge news for me. As you guys know, I love doing my narrative stuff. I love some narrative action. That's part of the reason, that's my main reason I do play this game, because of the narrative flavor. I told you guys before, this is my favorite genre in all of, Harry Potter, Star Wars. Middle-earth is my jam. It's amazing, and to have more narrative stuff into it, as we'll go on a bit later, it's really good. And I can understand if you're a we'll get onto this later when there's a bit more information, which I'll talk about. I said I wasn't going to do this, but it's me. You guys know I babble on, so apologies. But I think that it's if you're a competitive player, I completely understand it, because every game's going to have the competitive scene about it. But at the end of the day, this game was built on narrative play. If you guys don't remember, or if you guys haven't been around since the first iteration of the game, I've been around since the first iteration of the game, and all it was, there was no matched play scenarios whatsoever. There were scenarios in the book. So the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, the Return of the King, you had scenarios, like you had Baalam's Tomb, you had Lothlorien, you had Amon Hen, but it was, you could play those scenarios with the models, like, you know, that's set in the scenario, or you could also like switch the models out for a selected number of points, and those were the scenarios that you played. So this game, from the get-go, from the first edition, and now this is coming into 8th edition, I believe, because we had Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers of Return Again. There were 3 separate editions. The Big Blue Rulebook, the one rulebook to rule them all, which didn't end up happening. The Hobbit, of course, Middle-earth, and then you can kind of call the recent one back in 2022, that was like a version 0.5. So this is either 7th or 8th edition for Middle-earth. Well, for SBG in general, not for Middle-earth. This is like 3rd edition, or 2nd or 3rd edition for Middle-earth. But like I was saying, from the first edition of the game, this has been a narrative-focused game, which makes sense, you know. It's all about the films. It's all, like, this game is not about the books, it's not about Legendarium, it's all about the movies. It's based off the movies. The characters are designed off the movies themselves. So I think at the core essence of it, it is a narrative game, which, you know, which obviously I love, as you guys know. There were a number of things we wanted to tackle, but the most important thing to point out is that among us that have been playing for many years, the new edition will still play the game like the game that we all know and love. We're also listening to what the fans of Middle-earth strategy battle game have to say, and much of the work that's gone into the new edition has been to bring your feedback to the game when we can, explains League Games developer Jay. So that's obviously Jay Clare, who's been on the Middle-earth team since its rebranding, since 2016. And you know, I trust Jay, because Jay Clare, he's won the GBHL. Like, he's a competitive player, but he can also go down to that, you know, narrative player as well. You know, he obviously he can you know, do that big spectrum, which is really good. I think that's great. It's all once we get into this next stage here, there is no major change in the core mechanics of the game, which have stayed the same since the game's first release back in 2001. Exactly what I just said. The new edition will build on the solid foundations of the past. That isn't to say there won't be some minor changes. There's also room for improvement. And we went into the Middle-earth team, and we in the Middle-earth team have spent a great deal of time working on this edition to provide that we believe to be the very best version of the Middle-earth strategy battle game to date. I think they're going to say that anyway. If they didn't, they'd be like, no, this is like the worst edition. You wouldn't say that. So I think that's the fact that it's kind of contradictory, because back when it says the entire core rules have been rewritten, but then also says there are no major changes to the core mechanics, that's completely different. It's also kind of contradictory in some sense. I can see where people are really, you know, because there's been a lot of things online, you know, in the last less than 24 hours since I'm recording this video. There's obviously the main core mechanics, your priority, movement, shooting, fight phase. It's basically going to stay the same. I don't think fights are going to be changing anything. You know, you're still going to have that roll off. You're still going to have all that kind of stuff. But the core rules of what I'm thinking of is things like, as we get into it later on in this article, things like tests, like in the way test, courage possibly will be changing, because courage has always been a thing in a few editions. Courage has changed a lot since the first edition. There was a big change to courage, like in the first 3 editions of the game, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King, or when you failed a courage test, you retreated, you backed away, you didn't actually removed your model from the table. That didn't come in until the big blue rulebook. So there's obviously all those. I'm thinking those kind of changes are like the core rules, like the entire core rules. I'm thinking that's like those things are going to change, such as, again, when we get into it, heroic actions I believe might change, those kind of abilities. But no major changes to the core mechanics are essentially like the way that you play the game. I think that's the kind of the difference. Does that make sense, guys? I hope it does make sense in my head, but obviously my mouth and my brain don't mix. So I think that the gameplay itself will stay the same, but the way that you play it will be a bit different. But it's going to have that feeling of the game that we know and love. And I'll get into a bit later as well. I think I'll talk about that later, actually. I'll talk about that later. So there we go. So in this edition, the team have also taken the opportunity to streamline and remove as much unnecessary complexity as possible to create a smoother experience for players. I have to stop here again, guys. Apologies. I think that line is very, very important for two different reasons. It's good and bad. Complexity for players is, I don't think SBGs are great. Like, you know, a tough game. It's one of those games that's easy to learn, but it's hard to master. And I kind of like it about that. Like, I'm still learning stuff about the game. You know, I've been playing it since the, you know, first edition, you know, but I still learn new stuff, you know, from you guys, and, you know, you guys are still learning stuff. Like, it's a process, you know, and streamlining it, it's very, very similar to what Age of Sigmar has been doing, what 40k has been doing in the recent years. I don't think it's going to go to that extent, where like in Sigmar, you roll to hit on anything on a dice value, and you roll to wound anything on a certain dice value. I don't think it's going to be like that. I still think strength and strength and defense will still stay the same. So you'll still have, like, you have the wound chart. I think you'll still have that. I don't see that changing anytime soon, because that's a big mechanic of the game as well. I don't see any of that changing, but I also think that there's that, but it's also good for streamlining if we want to get new players into the game. I think there's been a lot of talk about making it easy. I know this is a very hard subject to go by, but if we're going to have new players join the game, and I think that's why they've done this, I think that, I don't know how much to talk about because we haven't gone through the whole thing. Again, this is why I don't want to diverge off and go on tangents about this. So I think we'll keep reading on that, and then I'll come back to that. The likes of the in the way chart that states different values for different obstacles and special strikes are good examples of this, Jay says. So no more special strikes, no more in the way charts, which is interesting. I never thought in the way was, I think that I don't understand why they changed it and the special strikes. I think it's a good thing. I think it's also long-term veterans of the game, I think are going to be the most affected. Special strikes, I think, for new players will be welcome. That, you know, you don't have to learn every single thing. It's also a good thing because you can convert your model however you want, and it doesn't matter if it's got a mace, an axe, or a club, or a sword. It's all going to stay the same. It means you can convert your converted models. You can convert them however you want. You know, you can have, you know, a warrior of Rohan with a loaf of bread, you know, or, you know, something, you know, something like that. It's all gonna, you know, pretty much stay the same like that. So in that perspective, I think it's great. But again, like I said, I think what most people, the competitive players, I think won't like this. But I can also say the competitive players will like this because it's honestly gonna make it more standardized, which is good and bad. Again, having standardized proceedings in games for competitive players, you know, it could get boring. That is a thing that could happen, but it also could lessen rules disputes, which does happen quite a lot. You know, this game has a very much rules as written, rules as intended, you know, scenarios quite often. You'll see on the groups very, very many times, you know, at least once a week, there'll be something like, what does this mean? What does that mean? You know, and there'll be massive, you know, conversations about this on the certain groups. But if it's because of that rules as written, rules intended, well, you know, the rules are written like this, but it's not intended that way. If you do standardize it like this, that won't happen as much. And I think for tournaments, for like the higher level competitive players, which there definitely are, those high competitive players, I think that the TOs are going to have a better time. The people playing the games are going to have a better time, the players, because then they won't, you know, be mad at each other anymore, because it's just going to be a standard 4+, as you guys can see here. It says the in the way chart was seldom used, if not forgotten entirely. I don't believe that. I've played games where like that happens, like you in the way, obviously. Like I can understand where they're coming from, but maybe because I'm a more narrative player, so I use in the ways a bit more, because I got narrative boards. There's been I don't want to go into it because no offense to anyone over in England, but a lot of the board talk about the terrain stuff. I could make a really funny joke there where you guys there's no need for in the way test because there's not enough terrain, but I won't do that. But I've seen comments like that. But because I'm such a narrative player and I use a lot of terrain, I like using a lot of terrain on my boards. I think that in the way tests I use them quite often. So everything being on a 4+, I get it. Again, I think for homebrew rules for local tournaments, even I think they could still use the in the way chart if they really wanted to. I definitely will still be using the old in the way chart, especially for like scenarios, terrain, that kind of stuff at home, if anything else. But obviously, official GW events, they're their house, their rules. So you'll definitely have to use it for like official GW events, especially with a few things coming on later on. But I think that for me, for like my house games, and I'll ask players as well, would you like to use the old in the way chart? Especially if we're doing like siege games, because obviously I think was it in the way chart for a fortress was like a 5+ instead of a 4+. So it's like 3+ for like fences, like light cover, and then it was 4+ for like medium cover, and then 5+ for hard cover and stuff like that. So I think we'll definitely, because that actually can sway the outcome essentially. Also says special strikes, on the other hand, we found many people simply weren't interacting with. Again, I'll continue reading here. Or we're trying to bend to gain to an in-game advantage that wasn't intended. So they're sailing off into the west. All hand weapons are now the same, as I said, regardless of whether they are a sword, axe, mace, or clubs. This also means that players are free to convert their models to carry whatever hand weapon they wish. Again, exactly what I just said. Again, a little bit things to take away there. Again, special strikes, I don't think they were seldom used. I think they were used. It depends, obviously, what kind of army you were going for, that kind of stuff, because obviously special strikes work for more certain armies than others. I think in the Hobbit edition, they were used quite often because of how good they were, especially Piercing Strike, go up by D3. The fact that now you can only go up by 1 for Piercing Strike, I believe. Obviously, that only works for certain scenarios where, if you're strength 5 and you're going up against defense 4, Piercing Strike won't make any difference. That kind of stuff, because it'll still stay at 5. But if you were like at strength 6 against the defense 4 and then you Piercing Strike, it would be worth it, because then you'd be winning on 3s instead of 4s. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, what am I thinking of? Yeah. Or, you guys know what I mean. Like, it works in certain situations than it does in others. It also says there is also a greater focus on narrative armies than before, especially in match play. The Middle-earth strategy battle game centers around key storylines from the movies and books, I agree, and allowing players to recreate the scenes and armies on the tabletop is a key part of the gaming experience. Every profile in the game is split into a series of army lists, each designed to focus on a particular scene, battle, or group of characters from the movies or books, and each with their own flavorful special rules. This aims to have every army felt like an iconic scene and to evoke the wonderful world and themes of Middle-earth. I can see why this has been a big talking point around, that basically every army list is basically a legendary legion now. A few points on this. I'm a narrative player. I completely, I've said it so many times already during this video. You guys know I'm a narrative player, so I think this is cool. I love legendary legions. I know some people don't for specific reasons, and I think they've looked at that and they've made it into, this is the continuation of that. And I think that this is also saying that every profile in the game has been tweaked like that and is in a series of army lists. That means for some army lists that haven't been updated, like Numenor, like the Last Alliance, that they will get a Legendary Legion or something along those lines, even if it's just for Numenor or if it's for our last Alliance Legendary Legion, with all the big four, like, you know, Elrond, Gil-galad, Isildur, Elrond. You know, so those armies that haven't had an update, you know, in the new edition will be getting one. So I think that's good for them. I can understand people's skepticism about every army just being a Legendary Legion, like no, basically ally matrix going. I think there also could be a way, because obviously we don't know everything here. This is just telling us what the army list is going to be. Maybe there is a ally matrix where this certain army list can ally with something else. Because I definitely see people's worries. I definitely see people's concerns about this. I think at obviously GW events, if this is the way it's going to be, where you can only take an army from a from an army list and you can't ally it with another army list, I think that could, you know, obviously at GW events that you have to do that. It doesn't say you can't do that. It doesn't say you can do that. But if that is the case, that you can't ally army list with another army list, then I don't see why independent scenes won't do that. You know, and especially here in Australia, I think we've had one Warhammer event, like official Warhammer event, in the last 5 years. You guys know I went up to it in last year. So I don't see that to be too bad for the independent scene, because, you know, I'm sure independent scenes will either be, I think this is the way the independent scenes are going to go. They're either going to be tournaments where they're going to still play with the old edition. I think that's going to be a thing, because I know people don't want to play the new edition. So I think there'll be tournaments where they'll be like, we're playing with the old rules. I also think there'll also be tournaments where you can ally an army list with another army list, so long as, I'm assuming, some criteria met, such as, you know, Theoden's riders, obviously. Theoden has to be the leader, you know. As long as I think specific criteria are met, I think that army list should ally with other army lists. So say Defenders of Helm's Deep. Say you wanted to ally that with Aemma's riders, because that's kind of themey, you know, they were both there at the same time. Then I think if you took the heroes that were actually there, and, you know, Gandalf and Aemma, or Erkenbrand, however you want to put it, I think if you were going to do that, I think that could work quite well. I think that could, I think that could work in the actual normal game itself, where you have restrictions of what you have to take, and then if you have another army list that you want to take, but you have to have the restrictions to that. So you have to have the minimum requirements for both army lists to take them both together in the same force. I think that could work quite well. If that's going to work like that, I don't know. It doesn't say it doesn't say it does, but I think that's something that could work together, and ease people's, I think people would be a lot less warmongering at that point, if that happens. But who knows if that actually happens. That's just my theory on it. Do let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. Would you guys be up for that? If you guys could take two separate army lists, if they had a requirement to take the army list itself with another army list. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. He also says, Jay explains, the current edition introduced Legendary Legions, special army lists that represent key armies and events from the page and screen. These proved to be widely popular with fans, so we've taken this concept one step further. Now, every army list will be presented in the same manner as a Legendary Legion, ensuring that every army fits the theme of Middle-earth. There are loads of these to choose from, and we have taken great care to make sure that if there is a scene in the movie showcasing characters fighting alongside one another, then there is an appropriate army list to represent these on the tabletop. So obviously this is becoming very narrative driven, the game. Also, if it's going to be every single army list, I believe that there's going to be a ton. So obviously a new edition is going to change the meta. A new edition is going to change how you do stuff. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's definitely going to be, I think people are worried that it's going to go stale really quickly, because you're going to take certain things from it. You can't, there's not as much customization as there was before. And I completely understand that. You know, people have been playing this game for so long that you can pretty much do that. But it's also going back to what it was like in Legions of Middle-earth, like the first ever army list builder. And I don't believe in that. With that, I don't think you could take something with like one army list with another army list. Or maybe you could. I haven't really read that book too much. But like I said, maybe if you could ally one army list with a different army list, you could do that. But you have to have restrictions or something. I don't know. For players that like to find most potent combinations, fear not. Many of these army lists will still provide ample opportunity for you to try out your combinations and see what you can come up with. So there you go. So who knows how this is going to work? But I'm interested to see how it does work. And stay tuned. And there's going to be a lot of videos on this, guys. So don't worry. As part of this greater focus of the narrative, every profile has been reworked, and many characters have received updated or new abilities to better represent them on the battlefield. A continues, this isn't to say that every profile has drastically changed, more than that we've taken the opportunity to rebalance many of them, which I think is a really good thing. Add extra flavor or simply see if we can tweak how they work to better represent the character on the battlefield. In many cases, the profiles will still function in the same way, however, that they will update working for their rules to fit in with the new edition and to make them clearer for players to understand. Not really to say much about that, just doing a little bit of clarifying. If it goes on further, it says, one thing we have looked into is the distribution of fight values, which again, in my last video, that has been a big thing for years about the how common certain fight values are, and it doesn't really make sense. So something that fans have been asking for about a long time. There are a lot of models in the ranges 3 to 6 of fight values, making it quite congested. Whilst we haven't changed the maximum value fight number, it's still at 10, which I think it should have been at 12, but here we go. We have taken the opportunity to spread out the fight value in that 3 to 6 range, and even a few beyond. That means profiles that would have been considered to be the top of fight value 3 will see themselves bumped up to fight value 4, and those at the top of fight value 4 will see them bumped up to fight value 5, and so on. That is applied to both heroes and warriors. So you may as well see some fan favorites being that bit more potent in the next edition. That means, I think that this means, like, let's go Mordor, for example, or let's go for just orcs in general. So I think a goblin is fight 2. I think he's going to stay at fight 2. And then an orc warrior, it's a little bit better than a goblin, so I think he'll stay at fight 3. Then we have a Moran orc, which I believe he's at fight 3 at the moment. I think he'll be pushed up to fight 4. And then a fight 4 Uruk-hai, because, the big, strong Uruk-hai, I think he'll be pushed up to fight 5. That also means I think that other good warriors will be pushed up. Possibly, Minas Tirith warriors could, go to fight 4. I do believe elves will go to fight 6. That there was a time back in the Fellowship of the Ring edition, the first edition of the game, where elves were fight 6. We looked at it on the last live stream. Your regular elves were fight 6. But it also means that heroes will be going up. I don't see a reason why Aragorn will not be fight 7, Elrond fight 7. Those kind of big heroes that we expect to be like that. Legolas probably fight 7. The Megalith is back. Who knows? Maybe he'll have 3 attacks. Megalith could be back. Who knows? If they're going to be doing this, I don't see why they couldn't. I don't see why they wouldn't. Because there's no point in the movie where Legolas doesn't do anything better than Aragorn. Aragorn's amazing, but Legolas in the films, and this is what we're going off by the films, Legolas does those crazy little things that Aragorn doesn't go on the back of a Mormont and shoot it with 3 arrows, and is it 3? And then slide down its trunk. He doesn't do that. But I definitely see something along those lines happening for sure. Also said, which is interesting, will be a new intelligence characteristic, which will work in much the same way as courage. In the current edition, a model's courage characteristic is often used arbitrarily to make sure that tests feel a bit odd. That feel a bit odd, such as seeing if a model that has wit to spot an invisible ring bearer. In the new edition, those sorts of tests will be taken with the model's intelligence characteristic instead. No more will blood-crazed Uruk-hai berserkers suddenly be experts in spotting invisible models. Good, I like it. It's interesting. I don't know why they did it. It's fair enough. I don't see a lot of other things that could be used for intelligence other than spotting an invisible ring bearer. Possibly maybe sentries, but that's very, very rarely used. Maybe if you can line of sight, possibly. I don't know. I really don't know. It's an interesting way to do it. Maybe if you're trying to, I definitely could, if you're trying to shrug off magical powers, maybe something like that could, you're intelligent, so you're more willing to fight off that magic that's trying to corrupt your mind. Maybe something like that. I think intelligence can probably work with something into magical powers, instead of I don't know. Maybe that could work. Who knows? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'm kind of stumped about that. And then finally, we have added a number of new thematic special rules to various profiles. Here we go, guys. This is fun. Helping to invoke their characters from the films and make them feel even more like they do on screen. Sam can now use his frying pan in combat, which is amazing. Who knows if that's going to have any special rules? I assume it will. So the reason they've taken out special strikes, but they've done stuff like this, I think that they've put their special strikes into actual people's profiles. So having Sam can now use his frying pan in combat, which means he's probably going to have a special rule for it, which probably will replace a special strike. So he can use his frying pan in combat, which is basically a special strike. So I think they've taken out special strikes in general, and they've just limited it to people's profiles. That's the reaction that I'm getting. Lurtz can potentially shrug off runes, and Isildur can potentially wield the shards of Narsil should Elendil be slain. So very, very cool. Lurtz shrugging off wounds is, obviously something like Fury or the Berserker. What's it called? What's the Berserker special? I completely forgot what it was. Resistant to pain or something like that. Oblivious to pain. I think that's what it was called. So I think it's going to be something like that. And Isildur will be able to wield the shards of Narsil. That's kind of cool too. Again, maybe a special rule that the shards do, like and again, another special strike. Who knows? So that's everything about the new edition. So now it comes into, what does this mean for Middle-earth? So it says, upon the release of the new edition, 2 supplements will be available. Armies of the Lord of the Rings and Armies of the Hobbit. Each of these will focus solely on the heroes, villains, warriors, creatures, and armies from the respective films. But what about anything that isn't directly in the films, we hear you cry? Fear not, young Hobbit. An additional supplement will be released a short while later, entitled Armies of Middle-earth, which will focus on any profiles that do not feature in the films themselves, writing an entire new edition and reworking every profile has proven to be a Mimac-sized task. So to make sure everything is in good hands as it can be, this supplement will arrive a little later than the others, but will precisely when it means to. Again, a few things to take away there. I do want to read the rest of it just to go through it all, because the next part will kind of work into it. So it says, Legacies of Middle-earth. The Middle-earth strategy battle game has been going strong now for over 20 years, and as a result has had many years of profiles and miniatures. To continue supporting the game and bringing you amazing new miniatures, some old profiles are going to have to make way in order for new ones. For new exciting miniatures to flourish, which is good because it confirms we're getting new miniatures, which we were going to get them anyway. These will not feature in any of the supplements, however. They will feature in the Legacies of Middle-earth PDF, which will be available to download for free at the same time that Armies of Middle-earth is released. This PDF will contain updated rules for all the profiles to fit with a new edition, and will also have a selection of army lists for you to use those profiles in. Whilst profiles and army lists in the Legacies of Middle-earth PDF will not be legal for official Games Workshop run Middle-earth strategy battle game events, well, that was a tough one. Tournament organisers are absolutely still welcome to allow them in their own independent tournaments and gaming weekends, and of course you can use them at home at your gaming clubs. Again, this has been a big talking point over on the groups, and I've got a few points to talk about it. So first of all, we're getting 2 new supplements. I should have brought them over. Basically, Armies of the Lord of the Rings, Armies of the Hobbit. Basically, anything that was shown in those films, anything that we have seen that's already got a profile for it, that's in the films, will be, put into that. And then, which is good. So very, obviously streamlining it. And then also anything that will not feature in the films themselves will be in Armies of Middle-earth. Stuff like Mahud, I could imagine. Mahud, Arnor, Angmar, which we'll get onto later. Possibly even the Shire, because technically you don't see the scouring of the Shire in the films. Although you do see it you see it in the books, but it says here from the film, so it's anything from the film. So we don't see the Scar of the Shire in the films. So I'm assuming that hobbits are going to be in armies of Middle-earth. Other things like that, like possibly, I don't know. It's interesting. Like fiefdoms. Fiefdoms are in the books. They're in the films, but they're not in the films. So I assume that fiefdoms, like all the fiefdom stuff, will be like Imrahil, all that kind of stuff, will be in Legacies of Middle-earth. So not Legacies, I mean Armies of Middle-earth. And then we have a separate supplement, and I think this is what getting people most confused, is that technically we have 4 supplements. So we have Armies of the Hobbit, we have Armies of Lord of the Rings, we have Armies of Middle-earth, and then we have Legacies of Middle-earth. Well, Legacies of Middle-earth is the one that won't be allowed at official GW events. These are models that basically are being taken away. Stuff like GW inventions, most possibly, like Knight of the White Tower, models like that. Profiles that don't have models for them, essentially. I could see that happening as well. Again, though, I do think that any TO in the land, I think normal independent events, you'll be able to use these. And I think that's why they're doing it. I think that's why they're giving him new rules to fit in the new edition. And I think that's why they're giving them army lists so you can actually take them as well. Again, it's hard to figure out what could be in these different supplements. I think it's easy for Armies of Lord of the Rings, Armies of the Hobbit, like, Armies of Lord of the Rings will have Gondor, Rohan, Isengard, Mordor, Harad, because you do see Harad. You don't see all of Harad, so maybe you will see some of Harad in there, of the stuff that you see in the film, like Mumakil, the Taskmaster, the war leader, Haradrim, that kind of stuff. But then stuff that you don't see in the film, such as Suladan, Raiders, stuff like that, like the Muhug King, that kind of stuff. I think that will be in Armies of Middle-earth. So stuff that's not in the films but is in that army list, like works. And then again, Legacies, it's kind of different, because I know some people are saying, well, the stuff that's not in the films, and you won't be able to use that at official GW events. Well, that's not entirely true, because Armies of Middle-earth you will be able to use at GW events. It's the Legacies free PDF that you won't be able to use. So what I'm expecting from Legacies, which is interesting, I think they're going to be standalone profiles like Knight of the White Tower, which is not in the movies or the books. And, stuff like that. So possibly even stuff like, where is he? Razgush that came out for Defense of the North. He might not be in it. He might be in Legacies, which is a shame, because he only came out, 2 years ago. So possibly things like that might be in Legacies. But again, they're giving them profiles, they're giving them an army list, and I think they're going to give them army lists which they can go into, or army lists that uses the profiles from the other books as well. And because it's free, you don't have to do it. Some people are just play Lord of the Rings or just play Hobbit. They can get their own profiles, and I think it's a lot. I know it's not ideal, but they're giving us good opportunity. Like, they're giving us good opportunities. And again, the legacy stuff, they will be free, so you don't have to worry about paying for it. You can just download it when Armies of Middle-earth comes out. And the fact that Armies of Middle-earth is coming about after The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings are coming out, so the fact that some profiles, some army lists won't be able to be used in the new edition for quite some time after the after it launches. It's hard. I can understand where people are coming from, and I completely understand that way. It's obviously not ideal, but it seems like they're trying. As it says here, the supplement will arrive later on than the others, but they're proven, they're trying to make it as good as it can be. So again, I think it's something they have to say, but it's not something that we want to know. It's not something that we want, but there you go. So again, a lot of interesting talk there. A lot of people are not really happy about this, which again, I completely understand. And again, I think it's mostly competitive players that are really going on about it, which is, fair enough. Competitive game, it is what it is. But I think for the I don't know, maybe 80% of players, it probably won't really, you know, it won't affect them too much. It's interesting. It's interesting. I'm interested to see what's in Legacies. I'm assuming things like Night of the White Tower, and you know, things like that, like possibly like, God, I don't even know what else could be in there. I'm assuming things like that like GW inventors again, like maybe like Razgush, you know, Musga, those kind of things. Possibly even the Spider Queen. I don't know. She's not in the books. She might be in the books, but she's definitely not in the films. Yeah, it's interesting, because the thing that I don't understand is because, fear not, every additional supplements that were released a short while later, Armies of Middle-earth, which will focus on any profiles that do not feature in the films themselves. But then Legacies is about some older profiles are going to have to make way in order for new exciting miniatures to flourish. So I don't know what determines to be a legacy profile and what determines to be a profile that's been, you know, not in the films. It's very, very odd. So maybe things like dragons, like cave drakes, you know, things like that. I assume, you know, I definitely assume things like that possibly. I'm hoping not many mainstream things like Imrahil, because, like, you know, obviously he's not in the films, but, you know, he's obviously a good character. I don't expect him to go. I don't expect him and the Fiefdoms to go, but maybe things like the Muhug King, maybe things like that might go. Maybe things like Khan, stuff like that. I'm not too sure, but it's interesting. I'm interested to see how it works. I'm sure that people won't be happy, but, you know, it is what it is. You know, if it means that we're going to be getting new and exciting more minis, then I'm all for it. And again, like I said, you can use them. You can still use them. And I'm sure I assume, I'm going to put it out here, I assume that 90% of tournaments will allow you to use legacy profiles. I guarantee it. So I don't think it really impacts it the way that a lot of people think. Of course, again, there's a lot of GW events in the UK. You know, obviously that's where Warhammer World is. You know, there's like 5 or 6 events a year. But for us here in Australia, again, we've had one in the last 5 years. So I don't think it's going to affect people too much. And again, I think most TOs, if not 90% of TOs, maybe even more than that, will say that yes, you can use legacy profiles in our tournaments, which, you know, I think is probably the best way to go. But again, GW, their house, their rules, you won't be able to use them now. So let's move on a bit, because this video has already been going on quite a long time, so sorry guys. So, current Middle-earth supplements. Again, this is another big issue that people have raised, which is fair enough. With such a comprehensive update to the game, all previous Middle-earth supplements will no longer be valid for match play. That doesn't stop you from using them at home, of course. The narrative scenarios contained within them will still work for playing through the stories and scenes, though may require some subtle tweaks with the new edition. And much of the hobby content, such as the building and paintings guides, will still just be as useful. I'm going to continue on, guys, with the because there's some stuff with the Rise of Angmar, which we're almost at the end here, guys. So the recently announced Rise of Angmar supplement was written for the current edition, which again, I don't understand why. I have a theory, I'll come back to it, and as such will also cease to be valid for match play upon the release of the new edition. We're well aware of the short shelf life of the Rise of Angmar, and we want to make sure that you, our customers, have all the information before you purchase it. And that is the reason where I don't think that GW as a company, obviously they want to make money, but the Middle-earth team, they care about us. They care about the game. You know, obviously they are players themselves. They play the game themselves. They are hobbyists at the end of the day. They are, like, you know, part of the community. And, you know, they didn't have to tell us this. If they you know, they could have told us this after Rise of Angmar came out, after most of us bought it. But now they're giving you the option to buy it or not. I'm going to be buying it. You know, obviously you guys know I want to buy it for the scenarios. And again, I'm going to have another theory of when the Rise of Angmar might come out, but again, I'll save it for a little bit later. So it's a chance for collectors to wrap up the current edition of the game with the last supplement for it. And continues and contains plenty of exciting match play content that we'll see at the final months of the current edition. Also, the narrative scenarios featured within are some of the most exciting and dynamic we have produced, which I'm very excited about, and will keep fans of narrative play going for many more months. Again, as you guys know, I'll be building an Arnor army and an Angmar army for this, which is exciting. And however, as the release of Rise of Angmar comes so close to the new edition, there'll be also a free Armies of Arnor and Angmar PDF available to download upon the launch of the new edition, containing the rules for using the profiles and associated army lists for both Arnor and Angmar, so that anyone who purchases the new models doesn't have to wait for Armies of Middle-earth to be able to find them in the new edition, which means that Arnor and Angmar will be able to be used at GW events because they'll be in Armies of Middle-earth. They won't be in Legacies. Again, so I don't understand what's going to be in Legacies. Again, let me know what you think about in the comment section below, guys. What do you think is going to be a Legacy profile? Again, I think it's going to be stuff like dragons, like cave drakes, like possibly the Knight of the White Tower, things like that. Possibly like shamans. Possibly shamans might go into Legacies, which would be amazing because shamans are horrible. But actually, they're not as horrible as they used to be. But possibly shamans because they're not in the movies. They're not in the books, as far as we know. But so I definitely think shamans could possibly go into Legacy profiles. But again, we'll have to wait and see. So a few things to go over there, guys. So the current Middle-earth supplements won't be able to be used for the new edition. Sucks, obviously it sucks. You know, we've bought all these books. Again, I don't mind in the slightest. Again, I'm more of a narrative player, as you guys know. I'm probably not the best person to talk about this because I'm not the competitive side of it, which is, you know, I'm sure competitive players have got a completely different outlook of this article than I do. Again, you know, I've lived through the dark days. I've lived through 2 dark days, like between 2009, 2010 to 2012. There was basically, you know, no Middle-earth content during that time. And again, at the start of 2015 to the Middle-earth team. So I see any new thing coming out as a gift. It is a gift. You know, that the game's continuing, that the game, and from what we can see here, GW is going headfirst into this, which is great, you know. And again, like I said, I think unless you just want to go to GW tournaments, I don't think it's going to affect that much. Like I said, I don't think the independent scene is going to cut a lot of this stuff out. And I think that, you know, talk to your TOs, talk to your organizers, your events staff, and I think they might be able to help you out. You know, if you want to use a Legacy profile, if you want to use, you know, something like that from the old edition, I don't see why you won't be able to do it. Especially Legacy profiles. Like I said, I think Legacy profiles, which people are very upset about, I think you'll be able to use them for non-GW events. I think most people will allow you to use them. And again, I don't think there's going to be quite a lot in there, because we see that back down here that Arnor and Angmar will be in Armies of Middle-earth, which are not Legacies. And I think this is what is confusing a lot of people, that there are 4 different, as I said before, there are 4 different PDFs, or technically 5 with Arnor and Angmar. But the Legacies are the ones that you can't use at GW events. But the Armies of Middle-earth that contain Arnor and Angmar, and I believe will probably contain stuff like the Shire, possibly things like Harad, like parts of Harad, Umbar, that kind of stuff. I think those kind of factions, possibly even Easterlings, because you don't see a lot of Easterlings in the films, that's for sure. Maybe Easterlings might go into Armies of Middle-earth. I think those kind of factions, they're definitely not going away. You'll still be able to use them in GW tournaments. And again, like I said, people are saying, oh, you know, my army, I won't be able to use it anymore, you know, I'll have to buy an entirely new army or something like that. I don't think that's the case whatsoever, because again, if you're just, you know, if you go into like a regular, you know, just a local weekend event, and you say, oh, can we use Legacy armies? And I think people are going to be like, yeah, of course you can. And I think it's Legacy profiles. So there's some older profiles that have to make their way into it. So it's not ranges, it's not entire armies, it's just profiles. So I don't think it's going to be as bad as people think. Again, that's just what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Again, going back to the supplements, guys. Again, like I said, it sucks. You know, we've got well, I did have one here. Where is it? Which one's this one? War in Rohan. So we bought all these ones over the last few years. It's a shame to see that they're going again. Again, I'm not too put back by it because, you know, I have got all of them except for Scare and the Shy, which I might have to pick up because I assume that's going to be going. And obviously Rise of Angmar. But I've got all of them, and I don't have any regrets buying them because they were fun when they came out. We've used them for so long as well. You know, especially everyone since the Rise of Angmar, because the last one that came out was Defense of North, and that was back in May of 2022. So we've had over 2 years since the last supplement. So I don't think we can be too mad. And again, they're giving us notice for the Rise of Angmar. So if you don't want to, you know, if you don't want to waste your money, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to buy it. Again, you're not being forced to buy it. And again, we're saying that you're gonna have a few months to, you know, to use it. If you do want to buy it, if you do want to use the match play stuff in there, like the Legendary Legions that will probably be in there, then this is one of the points I wanted to make. I think that Rise of Angmar will be coming out very soon. If the War of the Rohirrim, the starter set's going to be coming out in December, because War of the Rohirrim here in Australia drops on December 13th, I believe. So if it's going to come out around December, which I believe it would be, because GW, it would be stupid not to release it around the same time as the film. And it's saying that there's going to be a few months before that. That gives me reason that I think it's going to come out in September. I think either late September or early October. And that was my prediction before reading this article, like a few weeks ago. I was like, I think it's going to come out like skeptically. I thought it was going to come out at the end of September or the start of October. But my realistic option was like the end of October to the start of November. But now my realistic option is that it will come out at the end of September and the start of October, because it's going to give you a few months to, as it says in the article, to use it. So, and if there's a new starter set and a new edition coming out in December, you know, that's only 2 months away, you know, from that time. So I think this gives us a hint that this will be dropping soon, and I think that's cool. You know, new models coming soon. We haven't had new models for quite a while, so I'm very excited for it to drop. Again, you'll be able to use free arm. You know, they're giving you the free so you can still buy the new models. You can still buy all the new stuff. You know, that you know, won't be legal in the new edition, but they're going to be giving you a new PDF that you will be able to use at GW tournaments. You will be able to use this because again, they're going into armies of Middle-earth. And again, I'm repeating this just so you guys understand, because I know people are, you know, saying that, the new Arnor and Angmar stuff, you know, I won't be able to use them in the new edition. It's like, yes, you will, because they're in armies of the Middle-earth. Again, armies of Middle-earth is completely different to legacies. And again, it's just legacy profiles. It's not legacy armies. So I think it's just going to be standalone profiles rather than actual army lists that go into legacies. And I think that's what I'm trying to come across there. Again, I could be completely wrong here. This is just my opinion and my opinion only. But that's how I feel, guys. That's what I think it is. And it also says the August Middle-earth strategy battle game FAQ. With the next edition so close, we have made the decision to not release our usual FAQ and designer's commentary document in August. Don't worry, we'll be back on schedule in February with our usual updates, the first of the new edition. So that confirms that the new edition will be out before February. And again, I guess long before that, because if there's an FAQ, people will need to have time to put in an FAQ or you know, an errata. So again, yeah, I think the new edition will probably be dropping in December. I think that Rise of Angmar will be dropping in early October, which would make sense around Halloween. You know, but that's end of October. But yeah, I think late September, early October for Rise of Angmar, and then the new edition will be dropping in December. That's my belief. You know, but who the hell knows? Again, keep up to date on the channel, guys, because I will let you know as soon as it drops, as soon as I know. But there we go, guys. That's the article. I do have one more thing to say. People are saying, we'll go back to the Rise of Angmar, how the Rise of Angmar was written for the current edition. Now, I have three things about this, guys. The first one is that this was the next supplement on the way. Obviously, again, back in 2022 when we had that big reveal show, We had Glorfindel in there, we had some Elrond in there, we had some good action in there. I think this was supposed to be the next supplement. I think it got delayed due to what we all suspect to be licensing agreements, that kind of stuff, because obviously there was a few things, and I don't really know because I'm not really into licensing and all that, but I know there was some stuff with the Embracer Group, all that kind of stuff. So I assume that this got delayed so much that, again, this is just my theories, guys, so don't take my word for it, but I assume this got delayed so much that this was still being written for the current edition. And then once that licensing stuff got released, and they're saying, oh, we got this new movie coming out, we want you to do something for it, and they're like, oh, like, you know, we'll do a new edition for it. What's the point of, you know, back shelving this when they've already basically completed it? Because I think this is probably almost completely finished by that time. You know, again, just my opinions only. And I think, you know, with the new licensing agreement, they're like, we want you to do stuff for War of the Rohirrim, and with a new edition, all that kind of stuff. I assume that's what's happened. And I think that's why they're being so transparent here, where they're saying it was written for the current edition, and then it won't be available, like the stuff in it, like the match play stuff, won't be, what does it say? It won't be, they won't be valid in the next edition, basically. I think that's why they're being so transparent. Another thing is that, well, I think I just basically put all three in one. I think it's got to do either with the licensing, obviously the new edition, and there was one more thing I completely forgot about, but there you go. That's what happens when I just talk absolutely nonsense for like an hour. Again, I didn't expect this video to go so long, guys, so I apologize, but I hope you guys enjoyed my rambling and give you my thoughts and feedback on it. Again, I'm very cautiously optimistic about everything, but this gives me hope. It gives me, I'm excited to learn more, and you know, again, I think you'll get tournaments using the old edition rules. I think you will, you know, because you know, tournaments can do that. Tournaments can do what they want, you know, you know, within reason. And like I said, I think you'll get tournaments using legacy profiles. Again, I'm gonna ram it home again, guys. Armies of Middle-earth, Armies of the Hobbit, stuff from the Hobbit films. Armies of Lord of the Rings, stuff from the Lord of the Rings films. They can be used in GW events. They can be used in all events. Armies of Middle-earth, stuff that you don't see in the films, stuff that you don't see on the screen. You still can use them at GW events. You can use them at events. Legacy profiles, certain profiles that have been used, you know, older profiles that they want to, you know, move on, and I assume that they're going to take away from the range, from the current range. They will not be used at GW events. But again, like I said, I think that normal TOs, like, you know, normal events, you know, independent events, I think they'll still be allowed. Like, yeah, of course you can use them. You know, you can use what you want here. Again, if I was running events, you know, which I hope to do one day, I'd be doing that. I'd be like, yeah, of course you can use the legacy profiles. Yeah, you know, of course you can use the in the way chart still. You know, that kind of stuff. I don't see why they wouldn't, because, you know, they have the profiles, and again, like I said, I think that's why they did it, because they know that people would be furious if they didn't update the profiles for it. So they've updated the profiles for the legacy models, for the legacy profiles, and, you know, given them army lists to go into, because, you know, that way independent events can do that kind of stuff, and it makes the independent scene, you know, still growing strong. And like I said, I think it's going to be certain specific profiles that will go into Legends or Legacy, and not entire armies. Again, that's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. But there we go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We might be back next week with another. Do you guys think we're going to get an article next Thursday? I hope so. That'd be cool. Maybe something about Rise of Angmar. Maybe something about a made to order coming up soon. Who knows? I assume a made to order will be coming up. Or we're going to need to know what's coming back into the range, like Gulliver, Arnold, Warriors, that kind of stuff. Are they doing Malbeth, the captains, all that kind of stuff? So let me know what you guys like to see in the comment section below, and what do you guys think about this. There's a lot to talk about. And I've got a few other videos planned about, you know, about the Rise of Angmar, and of course when this new edition drops, when Rise of Angmar drops, of course I'll be going through it all. So keep watching, guys. Keep subscribed, keep your notifications on, turn notifications to all, and you'll get notified with any new videos, content, live streams, all that kind of stuff that I do in the future. But there we go, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Sorry for me waffling for so long. It's been over an hour now, so again, apologies about that. But I think it was quite a lot to get through and quite a lot to talk about as well. But yeah, again, thank you guys so very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in the next video stream. And as always, happy gaming.